What it's like to mobilize an entire country in a killing spree of revenge. Before the opening of the violent Olympics, there were fears that terrorist rhetoric from the Middle East would take advantage of the French. Feeling relaxed, looking for Onbaukev and the Israeli delegation. If something like this doesn't happen now. The new reason is not that the French have taken full responsibility for security. But after the infield Munich was crippled 50 years ago. The Israelis spent 8 years in the name of their country. Execute your stance and take complete revenge on 11 reporters. After the terrorist attacks on Panorama and by other paramilitary groups. Terrorist attacks become armed groups. A violent but effective way to express political demands. But in the 1960s and 1970s, no one would have thought that terrorists would resort to violence. Bring it to the Olympic Games, the symbol of communication and peace. It was 1972. The second LAC meeting will be held in the summer of this year. At this time, SID was in the middle of the Cold War. A window to the Western world. All countries in the Western camp have sent. Promised a factory next to the Germans. Not all countries with US politics and economics. Everyone is interested in the Munich Olympics. Israel has already paid heavy attention to these Olympic Games. Friends who have watched the issue of Berlin Olympics will know that Hitler, who turned the German army over to serve as pastor. At the beginning, the Olympic Games were completely turned into a Nazi propaganda exhibition. Although he claimed that he was a Nazi. The Germany of 1972 is the same as the Germany of 1936. The biggest reason why Israel is not optimistic about the Munich Olympics. The SID government was not only responsible for the 1972 Olympics. Experience erasing all military symbols. Even the security work of the Olympic Games. They are also handed over to the defense personnel of the Shen clan. To make security measures unobtrusive. The Olympic village at the Munich Olympics can even be inspected unclearly. This flaw in the Germans only looks to show the Olympics. After the Third Middle East War in 1967. Exposing the memories of sorrow and the great rules of the Pool of Lear. Israel has been engaged in a conflict with I-7 for 5 years. There are countless people throughout the Middle East who want to attack Israel. Today, Israel sends a delegation to the Munich Olympics. Guaranteed to be fact. Israel's lower SID expresses its concerns. Director SID didn't take it completely seriously. They promised to provide extra security to the Israeli delegation. We also hired a psychologist. This psychologist predicts 26 types of attacks for head officials. However, after the Hitler Committee pacified Israel. But the manager is no longer willing to pay more for security work. Because in their imagination, this should be a peaceful and easy-door games. So the plan to strengthen security was cut off. The Israeli delegation is also making arrangements. Be prepared for what is coming. Of the 26 scenes analyzed by the Hitler psychologist, the Valesitan armed group invaded the seat of the Israeli delegation. In fact, the hostages did not demand that Israel agree to their political demands. This prediction not only pointed out that Palestinian armed groups will be the executor of the attack. An aircraft will be requested to depart from Munich. Judging from what happened in the future, the situation trend notification is based on the predictions of psychologists. The West German Association did not take it seriously. Black September Organization from Palestine. But he caught West Germany's failure in management. Prepare to give Israel a big vote. To put it simply, Black September is organized by the Palestine Liberation Organization. The organization's name comes from September 1970. Jordanian king violently expulses Al-Qaeda group. The organization's founding mission. It is a method of terror that officially leads the Palestinians to Black has been in the IG system since September. Conducted terrorist attacks. Under special rule, Israel will send a delegation to participate. Start testing China's attack on the Israeli delegation. Provides terrorists with an opportunity. Most of them before the start of the Olympic Games. And sold through local Muslims. Successfully became a staff member of the Olympic Village. In fact, September 5, 1972. At this time, the Olympic Games ended with a score of 3 points. Most members of the Israeli delegation. This is the time to be sincere mentally. Regarding the terrorists who acted as armed generals of the Ming dynasty. And successfully found the location of the Israeli delegation. There are only 14 people in the Israeli delegation. Their support is only 3,000 apartments. Although the members of the Israeli delegation participated in the athletes are defenseless in the face of guns. Protesters shot and killed 2 Israelis on the spot. 9 Israeli hostages were also captured. After occupying a room meant for Israeli athletes to rest. Black Moon members involved in the attack start shouting outside the Olympic Village, demanding that the relevant government and the Israeli government come out. It's 4:30 on September 5th. The whole of Munich was once close to the darkness. However, when news broke that terrorists had entered the Olympic Village, the history of Bonn, the capital of West Germany, Poland showed a cold look. The focus of getting out of the association. But he was among the famous nobles of Warsaw. The expensive German chancellor. Being guilty of representing Germany is his most important diplomatic label. And the role of Israel will be played by others on German soil. His half-life political achievements will have to be recalled once. He sent 2 messages to the terrorists. In fact, if terrorists accept payment, then West Germany is willing to pay no matter where it is located. The other thing is, sometimes don't go for Israel. The West German government is willing to use higher value. There are more high-ranking officials in the West German government. Terrorists come and go, the Israeli hostages are in hand. However, this group of Black September members came here for others. After receiving Poland's reply, the terrorists who took coolly said, "Today means nothing to us. Even our lives have no meaning to us." They carried out this terrorist attack with peace in mind. The only condition they can accept is that the Israeli government releases 2,404 in Israel Pakistani hostages. The series of Poland's special conquests suddenly realizes that it cannot be called a negotiating opponent of terrorists. So they contacted the Israeli government again and again and used this as a time to pass the test. After the Israeli government received the news that the delegation was asked to negotiate by extremist terrorists, the reply to the series was firm to the point of being somewhat calm. The Israeli government says they refuse to negotiate with terrorists under any circumstances. Because as long as this opening is opened, we'll attack others. The only access method accepted in Israel. Just send Israeli special forces. If the West German government did not allow Israeli soldiers to enter, then take full responsibility for handling the kidnapping incident. Decision on Israeli army in one day. So I can only deal with it on my own. Just kill the terrorists quickly. And then attack the terrorists on the road. The Israeli government was not willing to cooperate with West Germany, dedicated to taking terrorists and hostages. Palestine reports sympathetic love. Let them seek there again. It is indeed an acceptable solution. If we just let the terrorists go. Nasdaq Security Services. It's just embarrassing in front of the whole world. West Germany calculates from Olympic inches to preparations. There is a distance of 288 millimeters in the middle of the straight machine. The terrorists will first be transported by the staff to the NATO base in Germany. From here on, it's called the love of a large customer base. Whether you are going to the job terminal or transferring from the job terminal to the passenger center, the system has a chance. In the sequel, the troops will attack the terrorists. During this journey, they will conduct area operations against terrorists. But the terrorists obviously expected this to happen. In the process of transferring to professional life, their colleagues are in the same department. But prolonged tension is destroying terrorists' psychological orientation. They successfully reach the job site where the system was prepared. Still, the original promise of being a terrorist has been forgotten. After other governments sent armored personnel carriers and terrorists who seek personal security to repay their hopes suddenly decided to choose death. ISA, designed to suddenly shoot hostages in the early morning of September 6th. And another terrorist traveling with him. If you cast your energy in the morning, your hands will be weak. And kill the hostages inside on the spot. I haven't thought about other aspects at all. Terrorists suddenly lose control of their emotions. We can only order the police present to fight back. Come on, the terrorists are either organized or captured. What's worse is that the person you want to rescue has also become a long-distance person. Cold cops. It means the complete failure of the rescue operation. The German media has to tell the world the real situation. But Israeli officials seemed very calm. They didn't make too many diplomatic protests like Germany did. It was even agreed that the Olympics could continue. Israel's only action was to silently inform the delegation. The last 3 surviving members will return home as soon as possible. No one knows how the coming-of-age drama will unfold among Israelis. However, Germany's follow-up actions were Israel's follow-up revenge actions. The story of Germany and Munich. It does not end with the failure of the action. Olympics after brief half-day pause. Recognized by the Israeli government. Then continue to message as usual. But the German police, who are primarily responsible for the failure. At that time, it was not like Israel. And 3 captured assassins. And the time of the 5 organized assassins. They first took the time of the 5 assassins. Sent to Libya, which sympathizes with Palestine. These assassins are the real heroes. The entity received a warm welcome in Libya. Gaddafi, who has just boarded the Libya-Chuan Lithium phone. Hide these people as heroes. This kind of hidden power of vocal cords is undoubtedly an insult to the forest. And the greater humiliation is yet to come. 1 month after the onset of Manichae syndrome. A new batch of Palestinian terror rhetoric. I got acquainted with the technology of German Consa Aviation. They kidnapped 12 passengers on the technology and appealed to the federal government of Germany. The only condition for releasing the hostages is Germany must be released at this time. The last 3 terrorists awaiting provincial sentencing. The Federal Republic of Germany has the sole right of its citizens to procure products for the state, without the consent of Israel. I just agreed to the terrorists' request, after seeing off the last 3 attackers. Germany will no longer open legal investigations. Although the German Jones won still and 2 doses. However, after the death of Manichae in the Israelis, the Israeli-led government has decided to no longer trust any negotiations. In order to completely formalize the separation of terror, he decided to use the public opinion of the Islamic State to organize special forces to transform Asia. In fact, the results of Germany's treatment. But Israel doesn't have much of a problem with Germany. Israel has no hope of a peaceful solution to the conflict. When the news that all the hostages had been released reached Israel. Hostages are no different from the same body. I know it's not because the Israeli government is cold-blooded, but because of the 3 Middle East wars, the tension between Arab and Sri Lanka. Negotiation and concessions will encourage more Arab terrorists. Therefore, it is impossible for Israel to give terrorists any price available. Before the Federal Republic of Germany announced whether to prosecute those who took the time, the Israeli government has already begun empowering intelligence agencies. Mossad began planning the deputy chief operation. No matter how terrorists learn to fight against senior students. Caesarea Special Forces. And named the deputy chief's Operation God's Road. The person who led this operation was successfully elected Prime Minister Israel in 1995. The leader of Mossad is still too liberal. Operation God's True Road is not an act of revenge by Kasumi. This is a targeted attack on Palestinian terrorism. Through these actions we will. Please tell all terrorist groups. Israel will severely punish any organization, any attack by an individual on its citizens. God's true way action is to take a stand secretly. A cool, programmatically driven performance. 1 month after the onset of Manichae. Translator and interpreter at the embassy in Rome. This person probably had nothing to do with his agitation at the same time. Why choose him as the first target of revenge? Translation of the Israeli Rape Killing Certificate Guide. Libya of terrorist entities. Right in Paris, France, in the heart of Europe. Bohan Modhamhiri. And used Zhongli's remote control bomb on the phone to kill him. At this time, it had been less than half a year since the Kulimuni Black Disease occurred. Israel resumed its enemies in Europe and caused 2 such incidents in succession. Send 1 or 2 government appeals. Su asked if Israel was behind this series of events. However, Germany's previous Chinese behavior let Israel no longer trust all Europeans. I have nothing to do with these terrorist attacks. On the other hand, Command Kiselia. The next reprisal soon took place on the islands of Sanbilusi in the eastern Mediterranean. January 1973, Israel recognized the organization in August. saying she participated in Munich Massacre after recording 4 rapes in the lower part, and ordered the agents to dress up as replicas of his hotel. Israeli agents planted bombs at Hill's site. After making sure he'll return to his room, the agent detonated the bomb, killing Ling Jiangqi on the spot. After surviving 3 consecutive assassinations, Israel is also planning to build a big one. April 1973, Israeli Special Forces Chief. The opening of God's Road initiative is as follows. A group of Israel Defense Forces troops were returned to Mossad command. After dressing up as a civilian on the bridge, they went directly to the headquarters of Beji. In less than 30 minutes, killed 3 weird members of the Baju organization in succession. Mossad agents in Europe are not idle either. Cleared 2 days after the end of Operation Youth. The new leader of the organization, Cyprus, is different. He was killed in a bombing in Athens, the capital of Greece. 8 people cheered for the first European opening ceremony, and the curtain was lost to darkness. Killed by a bomb in his car. This is June 1973. Less than a year has passed since the Munich rebellion. Most of them are former terrorists. They were all brutally beaten by Lee Senli. And the next person on Claes Wangmin's list is an important member of the Black September organization. Israel's actions finally went wrong. In the dark sand against Salami, the Israelis not only made the wrong target in the Ansha. Huang Lon also revealed the chariots and horses used in the operation. Police across Europe are on high alert. Finally, through the car white information, caught the assassins' horns. They managed to capture 6 of the 15 Israeli agents. Let Israel's Visagli actions be the first. Exposed to the eyes of the world. France and Italy joined forces to criticize the Israeli government. Criticize the Israeli government on its own soil. Italy also criticized the Israeli government in particular. During Operation Youth Rights in April 1973. Accidentally killed an old Italian man who dealt with people's livelihood. But things have already failed immediately. Israel has no intention of apologizing. I don't hate the police and Zhao for destroying the people scattered all over Europe. Zhao Ruan's target only needs to have his head sealed. Murder against Al Yasser fans. In the following years, Israel planned 4 killing operations around solar fans. In 1976, Israeli agents successfully set up, being aroused by Root Street Sarah fans. But the dead are indeed lucky. He actually managed to survive by playing tough. You can stop talking about nonsense like Destiny First. Israel bribed a British spy and asked to approach the Beji organization in the name of a good deed. Learn the trajectory of Salami's actions. And during one of his outings, he showed. Successfully blasted this person into a mid to high level. Then Salami and the explosion survived for half an hour. Israel's Vice-Week operation has also temporarily come to an end. It means using the country's citizens to carry out terrorist activities. This method of repaying something in return, it actually produced a very clever effect. For the mastermind of Munich's cruel kindness. Munich's black disability is not only the organization's biggest achievement. In the end, it also became the final showdown for the organization. Munich's revenge after being inoculated. Let most members of the organization live in. It also lacks the ability to replan terrorist actions against Israel. Black September gains ground in Israeli retaliation. And after the Fifth Middle East War, the sound level completely disappeared. And for Israel. Although many assassinations, please look at the level of planning from a planning perspective. But this kind of terror carried out by Israeli citizens is in action. Go straight to the question after recording the matter. But for Israel, this original scene was seen on Arab soil without any Arab permission. Make it difficult for them to choose negotiation methods. Write about their problems with Palestine. Whether it's the Munich Massacre case, or is it a follow-up retaliatory action by Israel? They are all a reprieve from countless tragedies in the context of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. If you want to be really supported in the future, there will be no conflict with Shoji. What is needed may be forces other than the two forces of Palestine and Israel.